Hey guys, and welcome to Functional Print Friday, and welcome back to my shop. So in last week's video, we did a failure analysis on this part. This is printed from ABS plastic. I made this about a year and a half ago, and this is the mounting bracket that supports both the luggage release handle and the fuel door release handle. It goes kind of up underneath the front seat in a 2005 Toyota Corolla. Now there was two separate failures on this part. The first one was this barrel that should be positioned roughly here. And both of these handles actually pivot on that barrel. This is the luggage release one. This one kind of pivots actually on the recess here. So that takes some of the force. But this guy pivots on the inside of this barrel. And this barrel actually fits through the luggage release handle. The other piece that broke is this peg here. And some people thought that this was actually the perch for one of the return springs. It's not, but I didn't make that super clear in the video. The springs here attach to either one of these perches up here, and then the corresponding perches are actually on the lever handles themselves. What this post is the limiter for each one of these guys. So if you look at sort of this curved cutout on this handle, and you look at the curved cutout here, it basically stops the over rotation of those parts. And that snapped off. So if you haven't seen last week's video yet, go check that out first, and I will put a link to it down in the description of this week's video. But at the end of last week's video, I asked you guys to suggest to me what filament you think would be best to reprint this out of that would solve the layer adhesion problems that let us down in this print. And I also asked you guys if you had any suggestions on adjusting the design of this as well that would still keep with the primary external dimensions that would still allow this guy to mount in the car without modifying the car and still using the stock handles. And boy, did you guys deliver. A couple hundred comments already on last week's video as of today. So we're going to take a look at the theme of the suggestions. But to get started, I want to try just printing this out of a different filament. The majority of the suggestions for which filament would be best to use were centered around the different types of nylon. Which reminds me, I actually want to make a correction to last week's video. I showed a bunch of engineering filaments here that I had to work with, and I referred to the PA6 and PA12 nylon as different percentages of carbon fiber. That's not true. Thank you guys for correcting me down in the comments. The PA6 and PA12 actually refers to different formulations of nylon. It has nothing to do with the percentage of carbon fiber in it. It actually has to do with the length of the carbon chain in the filament. So again, thank you for correcting me on that. And while we're on that topic, another quick correction I wanted to make was, in last week's video, I said I thought that the PPS-CF was another type of carbon fiber reinforced nylon. It's actually not. I mean, the CF does stand for carbon fiber, but PPS is actually polyphenylene sulfide, which is a much higher temperature material than nylon and would probably be the best material to actually reprint this out of. It's also the hardest material, the most expensive material, and out of the reach of most of the folks watching this video as far as a machine with a hot end temperature enough to be able to print it with. It will print with the H2D, but I want to treat that as a last resort. What I want to try first is the Bambu Lab PAHT-CF. Now I know any material that we work with that has a fiber fill is not going to have as good of a layer adhesion as a material without fiber fill. Now, this ABS doesn't have any fiber fill, and layer adhesion let us down, so why even try something that is fiber filled? Well, the layer adhesion on nylon is so much stronger that I think we can actually afford the fiber fill, and we're going to have much better dimensional accuracy switching to nylon if we do a fiber filled material. So I think as a first step, I'm going to try actually just reprinting this part as is, like no changes. Let's just reprint this in PAHT-CF. Let's see what it looks like. All right, I'm back, but that did not go very well, and I should have known better. This is the PAHT-CF, which I have actually never printed with before, but I have printed with the PA6-CF on a previous project here on the channel. And I remember now from that project that when I tried to print with nylon on the regular textured PEI sheet, that it just lifted up from the bed. And that's the same thing that happened here. And you can see kind of that angle. This should be flat across the bottom, and you can see how much that lifted. Problem is, I'd like to print this on the Bambu Lab H2D so that we can utilize the heated chamber on that machine, but I don't have an engineering plate for that machine. It didn't come with one. And I actually just went up to Bambu Lab's website. It doesn't appear they offer one for the H2D either. They suggest using a liquid glue on the smooth PEI sheet, but a little bit of digging seems that that's not the best solution either. There's a specialized plate that BIQ, am I pronouncing that right, makes that is supposed to be really good for nylon filaments. Unfortunately, I don't have one of the... You know what? It's possible I do. Let me go check something. So a couple of weeks ago, BIQ reached out and asked if they could send a roll of their brand new Moreflex TPU filament for us to try here on the channel. I guess they've seen all the videos that we've done with TPU and thought that that would be right up the alley for this channel. I said, sure, send it out. And I never even opened this. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, I think I'm mispronouncing it. I don't think it's BIQ. It's probably BQ. That would make sense since their logo is a B and a Q. So it's probably BQ. So we'll have to check this out at some point in time in the future on the channel. But the package was a weird shape. And that's because there was also this box in there. And I did open this to see what it was. And I got this far. I saw it was a build plate, and I just stopped because I didn't know what it was. They didn't say they were sending anything out other than the that TPU filament. But what are the chances that this is actually the build plate that we need for this project? So frostbite, PLA and PETG only. Looks like the Glacier is the engineering one, yeah. ABS, PA. ProGlate? No way. This is actually the plate that we need for this print. All right, it's not lost on me that this probably looks incredibly contrived, but honestly, I had no idea they were sending me out a build plate, and unless they have a crystal ball, I don't know how they would have known that I was going to end up needing their Glacier build plate for a nylon project a couple of weeks after getting it. So, all right, well, let's try that again on this plate. All right, guys, I've got good news and I've got bad news. Good news, that sheet worked really well. This part did not lift at all. I mean, it didn't complete either, so I guess it could potentially still lift later in the print. But the reason I stopped this is because this print I tried doing with PETG HF supports for the nylon, because I thought, you know what, these supports are going to be really hard to remove from nylon. Or you can see here the amount of supports on the back side of this part. It prints in this orientation so that we get the nice smooth geometry on that barrel portion of the print. Honestly, that's probably the most important part of this print, so that we have that smooth surface for the handles to rotate on. Well, when I selected PETG HF in Bamboo Studio for this part, Bamboo Studio did warn me that I should not print with low temp and high temp materials at the same time, that it can cause a nozzle clog. It did say, however, that I could disable that warning and still keep going. To go into the settings of the printer and either check or uncheck a box, and it will let you proceed with slicing it. Well, it got this far, and yeah, the nozzle clogged exactly like Bamboo Studio warned me was going to happen. It wasn't too bad. You can see here, I think we basically just had heat creep at the top of the nozzle and thickened up at this section and refused to feed. Now, a wise person would have stopped there, but I thought, well, sure. I mean, if I'm only using this as the interface material on the supports, it's going to sit there in the tool head for a while, and there's going to be heat creep, and that's going to happen. I thought, well, if I do all the supports in PETG HF, maybe I'll keep enough of it moving in the tool head between layers so that I don't have that heat creep issue. So I tried it again. And I will never do that again, because this time it clogged even earlier in the print, and if you can tell by looking at that in comparison to this one, the heat creep was much worse, and there was no pulling this out of the top of the tool head. I actually had to disassemble about half the tool head to get this out of there. So yeah, when Bamboo Studio tells you something is dumb, maybe trust it. So the real solution to this problem is to use a high temperature support material and not try and use the PETG. Now, I think ASA is probably going to be the best choice. I did a little digging on the Bamboo Lab subreddit, and several people suggested that ABS and ASA were good support choices for this PAHT-CF nylon. Fortunately, I don't have any ASA, so I have ordered some, and it should be here in plenty of time for this week's video. But in the meantime, let's take a look at the other suggestions down in the comments from last week's video, because in addition to material, I asked you guys what you would change on the design itself. So I mentioned in last week's video that I had a couple ideas of my own on how to potentially strengthen this part, but I stopped short of sharing them because I really wanted to see what you guys thought. So let me talk about the two ideas that I had for this first. The first one was adding a bolt from the back of this post. And I had that same idea that if we can get this to be in tension, this should be a lot stronger. So imagine we have a bolt. I think someone suggested an M3. I think an M3 might be a little bit too big. I was thinking M2. But if we have a bore from this side that extends up into this post, not all the way through, but that pulls down on this, not only will the steel of the bolt just overall strengthen it, but it will put this whole piece in tension, as opposed to, just counting on the layer strength to keep it stuck on there. The other idea I had that I also saw at least one person suggest in the comments as well was, instead of 3D printing this as an integral part of this, make this out of metal instead on one of my metal lathes. I mean, this wouldn't be too difficult to machine. We could do it out of brass or aluminum. I guess steel, but I think steel would probably be overkill for this. And just make it that it presses into the part. We don't have a lot of meat up here to work with, but we could certainly thicken the part on the other side. I mentioned that is one area where we can adjust the design. It can be thicker in this area, up to the height of sort of this rail up here. That would give us plenty of room to press the part into. And I think that would work really well. The problem is, it's not 3D printing anymore then. And it would limit the design to only folks that have a lathe in their shop that could custom machine this piece out of aluminum or brass. I'd really like to solve this with 3D printing if we can. Now, I'm not opposed to it. If we have to revisit this for a second time in the future, and this breaks again, I think I probably will just machine that piece, because that will be pretty much foolproof, especially if we can make it that it presses through from the other side with like kind of a flange head on it. I think it would be really, really strong. And I don't know, is it cheating to use a bolt for this other piece? I don't think it is. I think using fasteners in 3D printing, where we can pull things into tension or strengthen them, I think that's okay, but I'd like to avoid machining this piece out of brass if we can. The number one suggestion for how to make this interface stronger is to change the orientation of the print. So this presently printed just like this, standing up on the bed just like this, which means there's a whole bunch of supports underneath this, and that's why there's this ugly surface underneath here. It also meant, though, that we got really, really clean surfaces up here, and the dimensional accuracy and the smoothness of this barrel that the handles rotate on is really, really clean. And I'll be honest, when I started to see all those comments coming in suggesting changing the orientation of this part, I was kind of dismissive, because I really just didn't think that we would get clean enough geometry on this very key part of this design, this barrel that everything pivots on, in any other orientation, until I saw this message on the Discord. This person not only suggested changing the orientation, but actually went as far as to download the STL, modify it, and print it at a 45-degree angle. And I gotta say, it looks really good. So I think we're gonna try that. I'm not going to use their model, because there's already some other changes that I've started to make on this to strengthen things up. Like I have added that bore already that's going to go through this peg. And I also adjusted the geometry here so that we have a little bit more clearance. You can see where that was sort of digging into the side of the rail that runs underneath the seat that this mounts to. And I filled in this area here. So actually, let's go take a look at the adjusted design that I have for this part. Oh, before we do that, there is one other comment that I want to reference, because I was really intrigued when I read this. It's not something I had ever considered before, and I don't think it's the right solution for this. I think changing the orientation is going to give us the layer strength that we need for this part. But the suggestion was made to potentially hollow part of it and inject epoxy into it. And that's a great idea. Again, I don't think it's the right solution for this design, but I'm keeping that one in my back pocket, because for other designs where there is more sort of room, if we hollowed parts of it out and we can inject epoxy into it after the part is done. I mean, realistically, we could have a hole in this to inject the material, and then also have a hole elsewhere for that epoxy to come out of, or maybe even multiple holes. So almost kind of like casting, you could inject it in, and once it's coming out of all of your vent holes, wipe it off, and then you have a filled part that doesn't have any layer lines. You have the strength of the epoxy. I thought that was really interesting. Again, I think we'll probably end up revisiting that at some print in the future. All right, and here is our updated design for this part. And there's not a whole lot of changes. Let me just walk through them real quick. The first one is out here on, call it the face of the part. This face used to have a rounded edge, just the same as this lower section here. I changed that to be a 45-degree bevel, because we're actually going to stand this part up on the print bed on this little 45-degree face right there. That'll put the whole thing kind of standing up at a 45-degree angle, which should give us much better layer strength where this barrel interfaces with the rest of the part. I know that doesn't look like a very big contact area, but we're gonna have a nice big brim out here and the supports are gonna sit on that brim as well. So I think we'll have enough contact area to stabilize the part. The next one, and a lot of folks suggested this down in the comments as well. And originally I did not have a roundover at the base of this stop and at the base of this barrel. And that's because the two handles basically come right down to this face of the part. So I didn't put any type of roundover there to eliminate the stress riser. I added a 0.3 millimeter roundover to the bottom of each one of these. That's not very much, but from a clearance perspective, I think we'll still be okay. And I think even that little bit should help. The next thing I did is over on the other side. Actually, there's a couple things I did on this side. First thing I did is I brought the geometry up in a lot of this area where the spring rides in this sort of cutout. When watching the actual actuation of that handle and the range in which the spring moved, I had this cut out a lot bigger than it needed to be, so I just downsized this. The next thing I did is I filled in this whole area here to just overall strengthen this area. And I still made sure we had a nice flat surface here for that little clip to click into from the lower handle. And I didn't actually measure that, I just kind of guessed, but that should be plenty big enough for that clip to still expand out and not touch the outer edge of that little area there. And the very last thing is, of course, that bore for the peg. And I didn't do the whole thing for the bolt to thread into. It's a slip fit up here at the top, just a clearance, because what I really want to do is pull that whole thing into tension. I don't necessarily want the threads contacting throughout the whole thing. So if I knock the side off and kind of see what's going on here, you can see, so the head of the bolt will be here. The threads will slip into this point and then it'll start to thread in, and it'll basically be pulling all of this geometry down into the rest of the part. So that should give us quite a bit more strength in this stop. And I think the stop is probably going to see potentially more force than this barrel, because that's what it swings on this, okay? But this is what actually stops those handles when it reaches the limit of the travel, so you don't damage the cables. And here's what that part looks like in Bamboo Studio, all sliced up and ready to go. And you can see we only have contact area, again, just on that very small portion of the part down there. But because we have supports kind of kicking in at pretty low levels here, so just kind of ignore the top of the part, you can see from a stabilization perspective, I think we'll be fine there. And then once we hit the second one, we should have plenty of support to get all the way up here to the top, where we support underneath this spring perch. So like I said, I'm using ASA as the support material here. So if we go into support, you can see I turned off all the Z distances down to 0, and I set the top interface layers up to 3 with a rectilinear interface pattern and an interface spacing of 0. That means where it actually contacts the part, there's no clearance at all. So it'll be almost like the ASA is acting as a print surface, like a print bed for that PAHT-CF. So I don't know how it's going to go. I think at this point, all we can do is hit print and find out. Guys, I am blown away with how good this looks. I think the carbon fiber in this nylon filament really keeps the dimensional accuracy, even printing at an angle like this. This is printed with a 0.4 nozzle at a 0.16 millimeter layer height, and it looks amazing. I very gently detached this from the BQ build plate with my scraper so that we can take the support material off together and kind of see either how good or how not good these surfaces look. But what I'm seeing so far is really nice. So, all right, let's get these off. Okay. I can't even see where the supports were. Wow. Yeah, the ASA is like perfect for this. I can't get over how good this looks. I don't even think there's any cleanup to do on this part. Maybe, yeah, like a little bit here where it was stuck to the brim. Yeah, you can see we tore off a little bit of the brim there. And that's the only part of this that was actually in contact with the bed, was right there. Now the supports are on that same brim, so I think we had good stability on the part, but look at that. There's not even anything to do to clean this up. Let me grab a knife and just knock that little bit off of there. And that's it. We're done. So I guess the next question is, do our handles actually fit on our barrel here? So the big one, I believe, goes on first. Yeah, fits. It's not quite as smooth, but I also haven't greased it yet. And this one actually goes in the inside. And I got to be careful with this one. This is the original. So both these handles, the original stock pieces from Toyota. And when I first disassembled this, this one was already missing these other 3 retainer pins there on the end, or clips, I guess. It's been staying on with just this one clip, but I don't want to break that one off. So I guess we're still going to have to put it on there to try it one way or the other. Yeah, actually that's perfectly smooth. So it seems like, yeah, this one's like just a little bit scratchy. I mean, you can see its gravity is pulling it back down, but it's not quite as smooth as it was on our original part. But again, we haven't put any grease on that yet. I guess let's see if our M2 bolt fits in this hole. So I'm going to pop these handles back off. We've got to grease that anyway. All right, I'll link this down in the description, as I always do whenever I show one of these screw kits. We're going to use the M2 by 20. At least that's what I sized this for. And if you recall, this should be a slip fit for the first 10 millimeters. Ooh, it's a tight slip fit, but that's what we want. It's not binding. See, so it goes that far. Just kind of put my fingernail there at the base of it and pull it out. Yeah, that looks like every bit of 10 millimeters. And the rest of it, we're hopefully, it's just going to make its own threads in there and then pull this guy into tension. Let me dig one of the tiny washers out of here and we'll see if we can get this guy threaded in. All right, I was starting to get worried because that got really pretty tight for the last couple of millimeters, but snugged up on there really nice. So I think now we've got that whole peg held in tension. So that should make that a lot stronger. Let me go get my grease and let's actually get this all put back together. All right, this is just the Super Lube silicone lubricating grease with PTFE. This is the same stuff I use on the guide rails in my 3D printers. This stuff is great. I'll put a link to this down in the description as well. Well, guys, everything went back together perfectly. And with the grease on there, this one feels fine now. And the fuel door one feels perfectly smooth. Just looking at the back here, it looks like if that last clip does ever actually fail on the factory handle part, it looks like all those are basically flush with that flat surface down there. So I could probably just find the perfect size screw that would go in there and essentially lock that in place with like a big flange head or a washer on top. Well, guys, it is no picnic getting everything lined up in there with it through the hole in the carpeting and the cables attached, but everything is back in. And it works great. Well, guys, it's done. And I realize I'm saying that for the second time, since that's the same thing I said a year and a half ago when we did the original ABS one, but I really do think this one is a lot stronger. I really hope we're not in there again. It is actually a real pain to get that thing in and out, so if I have to ever pull it out again, we're probably going to go all the way. We'll just go right to PPS, and I'll probably do a machined brass insert on it as well. But I don't think we will be. And that's honestly thanks to you guys. So thank you to everyone that left a comment on last week's video with a suggestion, and especially to my patrons who honestly make this channel possible and what it is, and especially to the patron that went as far as downloading the STL and printing it on their own machine in a different orientation to show me that it was possible. Thank you so much. So if you've got questions or comments, or maybe you don't like where we landed on this, please put them down below. And if this is by chance your first time here on the channel, this is all we do. It's all functional prints. None of that multicolored garbage of the week. It's all strictly the functional side of 3D printing and the engineering associated with it. So if you like that sort of thing, check out some of the other videos on the channel. And if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. And guys, if you do, I'll see you next Friday.